All right, so this is something that I created years ago that helped me kind of stay true to the process of what my opening presentation needed to look like. And so I'm not a big fan of scripts. I've never really been a big fan because I think people see right through that, and I think they see that as being the traditional salesperson, and I think people traditionally put their walls up when you start reading from a script. So the outline that I'm sharing with you guys, I used to use with my clients when they came into the office and met with me. I don't think that there would be any reason why you couldn't do this with your clients over the phone. I know, Scott, you don't meet with your clients face-to-face that often, and maybe you could send them this PowerPoint and do a go-to meeting. But it works really, really well when we go back to what we ended the conversation with last week, which was making sure your clients knew exactly what you were about and why they should work with you and what differentiated you from the other lenders that are out there. And again, I can't express this enough. You guys are no longer selling mortgages. You guys are no longer selling rates. You guys are no longer selling product. What you guys are selling is you guys are selling solutions to problems. See, when people come to you, they're not looking for rates. They may say that's what they're after, fees, and that's what may come out of their mouth. But the truth is that they're seeking answers to questions. And our job is to basically set the tone, create a frame for how we want them to see us and view us. And so what you see right here is what you see on the screen is how I started my presentation. So you'll notice on the bottom left-hand side, you'll see my my business logo, and this logo is what I created as my kind of it's like my brand, the Triangle of Trust. So as we talked last time, I always start out with the permission to reject. Do you guys remember that from last week? Did it resonate with you guys? Have you guys had a chance to use this with any presentations?
No, I had it with a little bit of a client, but it wasn't as full impact as what you gave us there, but we went through it, and this is from the same realtor that referred me the last deal, and I still have yet to meet her. So I kind of merged that in with the Triangle of Trust and told them what it was, and they immediately went back and called the realtor and said, we want to work with this guy. She called me Friday. She goes, well, let's work on something else, and I still haven't met her yet.
Right. Right. The whole point of the permission to reject, again, is the psychological impact that it has on people. Sales people traditionally don't ever say, it's okay not to use me. That traditionally is never what people tend to experience. What they tend to experience is that pushy, more aggressive salesperson who's interested in selling a product, rate, and fee. When you talk to them and you set the stage by telling them that it's okay to not want to work with me, it's a huge shift for them because it actually puts them in the position of feeling like they don't have to worry about being sold something. The process, again, is like taking a plane trip. This is also what I get into now because I start creating an image for people. You guys have all flown on an airplane, right? Scott, Larry, you both have been on an airplane? Okay.
Yep.
So, again, when you tell a story to somebody, that story typically is something that they can relate to. It resonates with them. Each one of you knows the difference between flying coach and flying first class. Each one of you knows the difference between flying on a commuter airplane versus flying on a big jumbo airplane. Both of you guys know the difference between a quality flight attendant and somebody who's horrible at their job. So you guys know the difference between a good pilot and a pilot that's not very communicative. The point is that story that you tell when you do that, it gives somebody a chance to relate to what's about to happen. And so I was always big with these analogies because I think it really drove home the point and it gave something for people to sink their teeth into. And I kind of related the home buying process to like flying on an airplane. There's going to be trouble, there's going to be turbulence. The document that you see on the screen here literally is 85 things that could potentially go wrong through the process. And the cool part about this is how I started managing expectations. See, I started with the permission to reject. I got into what they can start to expect to have happen as we go through the process. More often than not, our clients look at us and we tend to gloss over how difficult buying a home really is. We are typically scared to death about setting expectations for fear that the person that we're telling those expectations to is gonna run around and go find another lender who's not going to tell them the truth. Well, there's the cool way to do it, and then there's the uncool way to do it. And I found that telling people the 85 types of turbulence that could go wrong was a really cool and fun way to describe it to people because everybody can relate to flying in an airplane. So as you notice, there's the buyer and the borrower, there's the seller, there's the property, there's the realtor, there's the title company, the appraiser, the inspector, and you can even add more. But when I did this, I had 85 things. The point is that when you go ahead and set this expectation up, what do you think happens at the moment that you're able to dialogue with your client about all of the stuff that happens through the process? What happens at that moment with your client? Do you think you increase trust or do you lose trust?
I think you made them your partner now.
Agreed. What about you, Scott? Do you think it builds trust or it eliminates trust by showing them this stuff?
I think it would build trust.
Why do you think it builds trust?
You're being upfront with them and saying that these are things that not necessarily have happened in the past, but can happen and do happen on mortgages and buying a house. So it's preparing them for the worst case.
Right. So let me ask you guys this question. We've talked about this briefly. I've talked to you guys about the term orchestrating referral moments. You guys remember me saying that?
Mm-hmm.
Orchestrating referral moments is taking people down a path that you know eventually they're going to say thank you to. This document right here is probably one of the most powerful tools in your presentation because it allows you to address specific concerns that you and I both know will come up. It's almost inevitable that one of the 85 things on this list is going to happen. It's a guarantee. The beauty of giving the document to your buyer is that when that problem occurs, how cool is it to pick up the phone and say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Jones, guess what? Number 52 of the list, have no client control over the buyers or sellers. I want to let you know that the listing agent has had no control over the sellers. They're going on vacation and we won't be able to close when you wanted to. When you're able to bring them to this point and you've told them this 3 weeks ago and you've showed them this document, it creates an opportunity for that client to look at you and go, wow, yeah, you did kind of tell me that that was going to happen. As soon as, again, you're able to cultivate that thank you or that I appreciate you statement, that's an orchestrated referable moment. That's the opportunity that you can turn around and go, hey, remember, guys, I spend my time really engaging in my clients and making sure this process goes as smoothly as possible. It's not going to be perfect, but I told you these are some of the things that go wrong, and this is just one of them, and we're going to work around it, but I want to let you know that this is something that came up. It doesn't have to be an adversarial conversation. If you don't provide this document to your clients, what do you think happens when you call the client on the phone and tell them something went wrong? Do you think that that builds trust or that takes away trust?
So it definitely takes away, and now you're backpedaling, trying to go ahead and either make an excuse or trying to cover it up and fix it without them, without them realizing.
Yep. Yeah. And how many files have you guys closed on that went absolutely 100% perfectly? Number? Very few, right? So can you see how powerful this document would be in the very first conversation of when you're starting to create a relationship with your clients? This document really sets the tone for how you are different than everybody else. And so at this point, do they really concern themselves with rate and fees? I mean, obviously rates and fees are important, but how important are they compared to this list? I guarantee you there's not another lender or realtor out there that's giving their clients this list. So what does that make you?
Unique.
Yeah. How about professional?
Yeah, more
how about relational?
Exactly.
How about dedicated? How about concerned? How about honest? How about loyal? How about proactive? What you're doing is you're setting this bar of expectation up so that it's so low that if by chance you manage the process and it goes flawlessly, you can literally look back at the client and go, hey guys, remember that list of 85 things that could go wrong? We got rid of all of them and you never felt a single bump. How good am I? At what point do you think you deserve the right to ask for a referral at that point?
Right then.
Right? You're darn right. It puts you in the position of not feeling like you got to be salesy to earn the right to ask for a referral. See, everything that we're working through here in the last 2 series has all been about positioning yourselves in front of your clients to be the consultant and not the salesperson, to be the loyal advocate, not the pushy, needs-based salesperson. The truth is that as you navigate the loan process, you guys go above and beyond. Your team goes above and beyond. You guys provide a high level of service. The problem is that homeowners don't know the difference between good and bad. The homeowner doesn't know the difference between high levels of service. What they do know the difference is between rates and fees. They don't know the difference between right and wrong. They don't know the difference between manipulation and honesty. They know numbers because that's the white side of it. So again, this presentation that I enter into in the very beginning helps create an image for the client that makes me very, very, very relationship based. You guys can see that, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You guys ever heard of the reticular activator?
No. No.
It's a part of your brain.
Like
it's a part of your brain that filters the thousands upon thousands of messages that are embedded in our life every day. Every time you drive down the street, every car that you see, every person that you meet, every sound that you hear, your mind filters out a large percentage of them and only lets in the the ones that are relevant. So hey Scott, how long have you had your minivan for?
2 weeks, something like that.
How many Kia minivan? Is it a Kia Sedona?
Yeah.
How many Sedonas do you see out on the road?
More now, I guess. I think I'm looking more often now, though.
You are, right?
Yeah.
I drive a late model BMW, and I'll tell you, there isn't a time that if I see one driving down the expressway or on the street that I don't notice it. It's part of just part of me. That when we talk about asking our clients for a referral after closing, we miss out on the largest opportunity because our clients, as they go through the process, we've talked about this before, 60% of your clients will help you with your business if you ask. 60% of them will receive the message if it's done at a moment when you've orchestrated a referable moment. Anytime your clients have said wow and thank you or acknowledge some appreciation, it's the perfect time to ask. As you navigate the loan process for them, these are the most opportunistic times to ask. And I promise you, as your clients go through the home buying process, they're talking to other people in their life, their friends, their family, and other coworkers about their home buying experience. Do you guys realize that? Do you guys know that when people buy a home, they talk to other people about them buying a home?
Oh yeah, for sure.
So when a client decides to when they find a house, they're talking to people. When they do their home inspection, they're talking to people. When they get their home appraisal, they're talking to people. When they get their approval, they're talking to people. When they're clear to close, they're talking to people. When they move in, they're talking to people. When they're having their first open house, housewarming party, they're talking to people. The list goes on and on and on. Our best advantage is to plant the seeds with our clients from the very beginning to let them know that we expect them to refer us. We expect them to be an advocate of our business. We expect them to participate in the success of our business if they expect us to deliver everything that we've told them that we would. Fred the Head basically means that when your clients go through the process, they're more apt to tell other people about the home buying experience when they go through it with you during the process. So my business model was really created where I eventually got to the point where I had 5 points of contact with my clients through the entire process. And they were orchestrated very specifically for a very specific reason. I met with the client face-to-face for an initial interview. That was the first time that's the first time I met with them. I'm sorry. I would take the initial phone call. That's the first contact. The second one would be the face-to-face consultation where I would spend 15 to 20 minutes and then turn it over to my team member. The next time I would talk to them was when we got the appraisal. The next time I would talk to them was when we had the approval. And then the last time that I would talk to them would be at the closing or giving them numbers. Each of those 5 points of contact were all designed so that I had an opportunity to get a referable moment I mean, think about it. At the initial on the phone call, the meeting face-to-face, the appraisal, the approval, and the closing. Each one of those was designed so that I could orchestrate a referable moment out of them and remind them that we needed them to advocate our business. The rest of the details, I left up to my team. I didn't care about any of the other details except when I called them on the appraisal, was I going to have good or bad news? When I called them on the approval, was I going to call them and tell them about good news or bad news? When I called them about the closing, was it because we were hitting our closing date or not hitting our closing date? But again, it goes back to Fred the head. I wanted to make sure that my clients knew during the 30 to 45 days that they were going through the process with me that during that period of time, they were actively out there orchestrating, advocating my business because I kept asking them for, I kept asking them for help because I orchestrated those moments. Can you guys see how this is kind of starting to develop a process?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What do you hear so far, Larry?
That you're a bearer of good news, you're in control of the situation, and you're selling yourself. Go ahead and ask for more business.
Why do you think how is this different than the way you guys did your initial applications or initial interviews? Is this a really different path than what you've done in the past?
Yes. I've tried to give some clients some updates on things to look out for. I didn't put it in writing, and I didn't make it like where they could grasp a picture of you, the pilot of the plane ride. Some realtors have been offended that I've been trying to make the clients worried about the process and the situation, and most of the realtors didn't understand how many things could go wrong themselves with the same process. So I think by putting in writing, you're educating the client, you're making them have a little bit more trust in you and better belief in you. And I think that's key. And asking for the business during the process instead of waiting until afterwards, which that's what I've been doing.
Right. Right. The neatest part about it is when you talk to people about what could go wrong, when something does go wrong, it's not an explosion. It's a small little spark.
Right.
Because you can call them up and say, hey, remember we talked about this. There's so much more professionalism, you're so much more viewed as a trusted consultant when you give them all the details and you give them all their options in the beginning. So it goes back to, it starts with you. Tell a friend, tell a family member, mention coworkers. I literally map this out for my clients. When I used to do this because I wanted to follow a process, this PowerPoint presentation I probably used for a good year because every time I met with a client, I didn't want to miss a step. And this PowerPoint allowed me to remember what I wanted to tell and what I wanted to get across. I would talk to them about the process, application, appraisal, processing, verifications, underwriting, so on and so forth. I actually even created this, where I created a list so that they could see it visually. I would also give them an option. At the end of the presentation, it was you don't have to do anything. You can choose to, do a refi. You can choose to take application with me or not. You can do this on your own, which means you can go on the internet. You can do, you can go out there and try to figure this out on your own. Or you can work with a traditional lender, which is what most people go to when they go to a bank. Or you can work with first class and go with me. Again, we do it all, and that was it. This presentation was really designed for me around what I felt was something that I wanted to make sure that every client that walked through my door understood. This is not something that has to be done, but I'm willing to bet you that if I sat down with a client face-to-face and you guys sat down with your clients face-to-face or called them on the telephone, who has the better chance of getting the loan? Just forget about mortgages for a second, forget about rates, forget about fees, forget about timelines. Who do you think has a better chance of developing a relationship that gets them to want to work with? Do you think you would, or do you think I would?
Your system, and you probably get more referrals too.
You're right.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So you have to ask yourself, if you feel that way right now, imagine how your clients would feel every time you don't do something like this versus if you did do something like this. It's going to feel awkward in the beginning. It's going to feel kind of like you're kind of a fish out of water a little bit until you develop your own style. But I'm telling you, the first 10 to 15 minutes of every application, whether you're doing it face-to-face or not, Scott, and Larry, I know you do yours I think most of the time face-to-face. If you're not doing them, if you're not doing this presentation, you're actually hurting your future opportunities, because it's a lot harder to convince your clients to refer you when you're providing them the same level of service as everybody else. You're not differentiating yourself one bit in that first 15 minutes, but if this presentation was something you decided to use, I guarantee you have differentiated yourself, and you will become less likely to be shopped. You become less likely to be commoditized. You're still going to have 20% of your clients that meet with you will commoditize you, because that's just who they are, but 80% of the population that's out there that you meet with, 100% of that 80% will love the fact that you're telling them this stuff, because nobody else has. Nobody else will. Your first-time home buyers won't know the difference, but your second, third, and fourth-time buyers will know the difference, and they will tremendously appreciate it. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah.
All right, give me some feedback. What are your thoughts today?
Let me ask you one thing, or a couple of things. Are these screenshots printable?
Yeah, they're printable. It's in PowerPoint. I can send you it. I mean,
Okay.
I would. It's got my logo on it, so
Yeah,
I'll send you the PowerPoint. I'm sure you can edit it.
Yep.
Let me. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this. Let me show you guys my my logo. Let's see.
What was that, your workout schedule on there?
Yeah, for when I was training for a half.
Holy shit. Oh.
Yeah. So
Just
here it is. Say that again?
You just gave me a heart attack trying to keep up with that.
Yeah. Well, today I'm going after work. I'm going running with one of my counterparts here at the office. We go run the stadium. We do bleachers.
Huh.
So.
All of you.
Good
So
for you.
anyway, thanks. So this is my logo. So can you see how my logo also ties into my entire mindset, how my brand is kind of related to the Cataray Mortgage Group?
Yep.
This was such a great thing to give to my clients. It's because it's on my business card, and it gave me it was a talking point. Every time I passed out my business card, it was a talking point. The Cataray Mortgage Group, a triangle of trust business. People are like, what's that? Or I'd point out to them and go, see that triangle? That has a meaning to it. The cool part about what I'm telling you guys is that it really is just a part of how we as human beings want to feel when somebody else is working with us. We want to matter to somebody. We want to know that the person who's working with us cares about us. And we have such a difficult time conveying those feelings to people because the words that are thrown around are so arbitrary. I care about you. I'm available 24/7. I've been in the business for 30 years. I know what I'm doing. That's all great. But that doesn't convey to anybody the level of quality of service that you're going to provide to them. So the triangle of trust is something that I really kind of, embraced wholeheartedly. So, but back to your question, Larry, yes, those documents are printable, and I can definitely send them out to you guys.
Very cool. Very good.
Awesome.
What about you, Scott? Anything?
I like the presentation. I'm thinking about the logo now. I'm trying to remember what we were just talking about. Sorry, it's been a kind of a hectic morning. But the right now, my presentation when I talk to a borrower for the first time, it's not the best to be honest. I've been trying to work my way through it. Just kind of trying to teach myself what to say, and I like your approach. Now it's been kind of a little bit about myself, a little bit about the company, and
right.
You were referred by so and so, so we're going to take great care of you, and then okay, let's talk about the loan now. So
right, right.
Definitely need to spruce that up a little bit.
I would tell you that maybe you two, Larry and Scott both, maybe you guys should start role-playing with each other as it relates to how this presentation should go. You guys have both heard what I've said the last couple of weeks. You both have heard it from your own points of view. I would really challenge you guys. It's just like NFL and basketball and professional athletes. Think about how many times a week they practice compared to how many times a week they actually play the game. And I'm telling you right now, if you guys are not practicing this script on anybody other than just your clients, it's going to take you a long time to get into a rhythm to really find your zone. I really, really, really urge you guys to work on this presentation. It literally shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes to really just present this information in a way that gets people to buy in. And you don't have to make it longer than necessary. What you're trying to get is that aha moment when the clients, metaphorically is sitting there with their arms crossed to the point where they've got their elbows on the table and they're leaning in and engaging in a conversation. I knew when I had my clients. I knew when I had them committed to working with me, and I stopped the presentation at that point. Everything that you talk about in this presentation is centered around one thing, getting them to see you differently than any other lender. And that's all that matters, because you guys are different than any other lender. You guys know that you guys do an amazing job for your clients. But how does a client know that? How does a client recognize that? It's how we educate them. It's how we go back to framing ourselves. This entire presentation is about framing yourself in a different way so that your clients see you the way that you want them to see you, not based on their previous experiences or based on what everybody else has told them a lender is. So I'll send out the replay along with this PowerPoint. You guys can modify it. You guys can do whatever you want with it. I strongly recommend that you incorporate that list of turbulence in your presentation. And I've got one where I actually after the meeting I would actually mail out a copy of it after the fact with a cover letter.
Right.
So it was another piece of communication that the client would get.
Nice.
And so you could always.
Version of it too?
What's that?
Can you send us that version of it too? Do you have that available?
It'll cost you extra. Yeah, guys, I'll give you everything I got. I really will, so that won't be a problem. I'll send you that PowerPoint presentation as well as the turbulence letter for what you can do after the fact.
Okay.
Please make a commitment to me over the next 7 days. Role play this out with each other. If you're not having this conversation in the beginning, you're missing out on. Well, let's be honest. If you've got 5 people in your pipeline, 80% of those people, 4 of those people would gladly refer you if they knew that you needed their help, and B, you set the stage appropriately. Just think about how much different your business would be if you were getting referrals on an active basis. And this presentation sets the stage accordingly. And that's where it gets easy. It's hard to go back during the process and go, oh, hey, wait, by the way, I forgot to tell you, I count on you for referrals. It's not hard. It's just not as easy when you do it in the very, very beginning and get that commitment from your client. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. One thing, my vacation starts tomorrow. I'm going up to South Carolina for a week with my wife for a wedding.
Good for you.
Thanks. It's going to be tough for me to find time to role play between now and then I won't be back until our call next week, pretty much.
I disagree. I think you should spend the time with. I think you should be talking to your wife in the car about it. I think you need to have that conversation with her again and again until it gets comfortable. And to be honest, Larry, pick up the phone and call Scott. Ask while he's driving.
Yeah,
I know this is out of the norm for what you typically have done in the past, and I know, Larry, you've never done this, but I'm telling you guys, it's easy to do it when it's something that you find to be conversational. But if you're going to wait to do it until you get in front of a client, your clients are going to know the difference. But for as many clients as you get to have this conversation with, what is that, 4 or 5 a month? I mean, it's going to take you many, many repetitive times to finally get this to be conversational.
Yeah.
And that's what it has to be. It has to be conversational, otherwise your client's going to feel like it's a script, or they're going to feel like it's disingenuous, or they're going to sense that you're not coming from a place of sincerity. They're going to feel like you're reading from a manual, and that's going to put their walls up. This whole presentation can come across completely the wrong way if you read it like a robot, if you read it and it's not fluid. So I'm going to disagree with you, Scott. I'm going to tell you, if it matters, I would role play it with your wife. I would have her listen to one of these replays on the car ride up if you have a chance to. Have her try and engage with you on it. And the same thing with you, Larry. Pick up the phone, call him, call Brian. It doesn't matter. At this point, the calls that we have for a half hour, 45 minutes are great because the information is really valuable, but it doesn't become nearly as valuable as it is until you implement it into your presentations with your clients. So, for what it's worth,
definitely time to do that. Yeah.
Awesome. Listen, guys, when we do our class, are you going to be gone next week, Scott?
No, I'll be back for the class.
All right. So next week's class, this is all we're going to do. I want you guys to be prepared to pitch your 5 to 10 minute initial presentation as if I was the client and you were telling me why I should use you.
Good.
Okay.
And we're gonna work on it, and I'm gonna challenge you guys on it, and we're gonna repeat it. I mean, each of you may have to do it 5 or 6 times, but I want this to be something that you get really, really good at. So next week, I want this to be something that flows. I want the triangle of trust to be a conversation that you can have with me, and I want the whole presentation, at least the 85 points of turbulence and the process and how you ask the client to refer you. Make sure that those things are there. At the very least, that presentation is going to change your business model enormously.
Okay.
All right, guys. I'll send you the replay. I'll send you the PowerPoint presentation as well as the mail, the letter that was sent out. Have a great rest of the week, guys. Enjoy yourselves. Be referable. And if you need anything, I'm here to help.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, guys. Take care. All right, bye-bye.